Despite Nathan's desire to escape the crowd around him at the Spiritual Warrior Examination Results Board, he couldn't seem to break through. With a rank of 8 on the examination, he was bombarded with new fans desperate to catch a glimpse of him. Typically, if a student were to receive an examination rank of 6, this usually meant the student's power level could reach the apprentice stage once the student had fully matured. If the student received a rank of 7, it meant the student was more likely to reach a high level of the apprentice stage or even break into the lowest level of the master stage as an adult. A rank of 8 indicated the student's abilities were beyond exceptional. It was a great honor for the student's family, and the student likely would achieve a medium-level tier of the master stage as a fully matured warrior. Regardless of family status or wealth, a rank of 8 meant the student's family would be in a strong position to challenge another noble house for a seat of power. Considering most families' patriarchs held the strength of a high-level apprentice, any warrior that reached the spiritual fighting master stage had the potential to elevate his entire family. As Nathan tried in vain to escape the crowd and return to his family, he glimpsed at the rest of the standings as Baylor tried to block excited fans from reaching him. According to the results, no one had scored a rank of 7 on the examination. Roughly 40 students, including Baylor, earned the rank of 6. Nearly 200 students earned the 5th rank, and over 400 reached the 4th rank. A few dozen students fell under the ranks 3 and 2, and only a handful were ranked at 1. Considering the fact that all of the students participating were at least 11 years old, these lower rankings were considered shamefully poor performances, and many of those students would eventually give up on their dreams of becoming spiritual warriors. Nathan smiled as he read John Crane's name under the rank 1 list. As if on cue, John Crane and an entourage of other warriors from the hamlet of Dunshire pushed their way through the raucous throng to reach the board. "Out of my way, you worms!" Nathan turned to meet John Crane's sneering face as it curled into a teasing smile. The smile faded when he looked at the board. "What? Know-nothing Nathan Hayfield reached examination rank 8? Which Nathan Hayfield is that? It can't be the cowardly little weakling I know." Another student warrior from Dunshire examined the board closely. "Nope, it's definitely our Nathan from Dunshire. See there? It says it on the list." "I know what it says, damn it." Another student chuckled as he left John's side to high-five Nathan. "Incredible job, Nathan. At this rate, you're going to make Dunshire famous." "Please. He must have cheated in some vile way. He's still a weakling." Another student laughed at John as he went over to Nathan's side. "That's rich coming from you, John. Why are you looking for your name up there anyways? It's way down there at the very bottom." The entire group of students John had showed up with laughed and now mocked him openly as they moved over to Nathan's side. John's brow furrowed. Whoosh! Before he could say another word, a hand roughly grabbed the back of his tunic and dragged him down the hallway to the very end of the list. "Who dares touch me in such a—" "Shut up, you imbecile." The color drained from John's face as Carlton Crane finally released his son as the boys from Dunshire laughed. The embarrassment stung John worse than if he had failed the exam entirely. Carlton loomed menacingly over his son and pointed to the list. "Look at it. Look at what a fool you've made of me." Before and during the examination, Carlton had boasted and bragged about his son's prowess to anyone who would listen. As soon as the list went up, he had received an endless onslaught of ridicule for his son's performance. The Crane family name was now the butt of every joke in town. Upon seeing his own score, John cursed under his breath. His face flushed from embarrassment. John knew he'd performed terribly, but he never thought his score would be this bad. Even at his most optimistic estimation, he figured he'd manage a rank of 4, but instead, here he was at rank 1, among the bottom 10 students who had taken the examination.
Papa, please, it was a fluke. I felt sick or something. I swear it wasn't my fault.
Nathan smirked as Carlton's neck veins bulged. Carlton let loose a scream that shook the halls.
Enough squeaking, you insolent little flea! I've given you every luxury and invested thousands of silver coins into your training, your housing, and your food, and this is the thanks I get for all my money? What a waste of a son you are, you sniveling, pathetic weakling!
Tears welled up in John's eyes, and as much as the boy had earned his comeuppance, Nathan couldn't help but intercede.
Whoa, relax there, Lord Crane. Such vitriolic language in public is unnecessary. So what if he flopped this time? I'm sure with hard work and patience, he'll receive a better mark on the next examination.
Nathan's tone was equally comforting to John and teasing to Carlton, whose face grew redder as more eyes fell on him. John was utterly speechless. He really didn't understand what had happened during the exam. With a spiritual warrior strength at level 6 beginner, John knew he should have performed better. But when he took the exam, something just felt off. After finishing the race, John's legs had felt like they were chained to boulders, and he was forced to rest for many hours before moving on to the second stage. It was dark outside by the time he completed the second stage. By the time he reached the third stage, John was utterly exhausted. What John didn't realize was that his poor performance was all thanks to Nathan's spell that zapped John of energy. Nathan, of course, was unaware what his power of Asura had done. Before the Crane family could respond to Nathan's words, a group of people in dark purple cloaks aggressively pushed through the crowd. A voice boomed through the hall. "Make way! Make way at once for the High Lord Raven! His lordship wishes to see the results." Within a few moments, the High Lord Raven and his son Cedric appeared beside the results board. Flanking them was a large group of weaker vassal lords and a column of House Raven guards. Suddenly, the fans who had been fawning over Nathan turned and raced over to the High Lord Raven to praise him and bestow him with compliments.
Look! It's the great High Lord Raven himself. Look how many lower lords are at his beck and call. Each and every one of them's got chests full of golden coins, so imagine how rich and powerful House Raven must be. I hear the Ravens have grown even more powerful this year. Cedric Raven's score was only lower than Stuart Lightstone's.
Remus Raven, also known to the land as the High Lord Raven, scanned the listing with sharp eyes as he casually brushed his dark black beard. He ignored the reverent crowd around him, and even as they peppered him with accolades.
Congratulations, your lordship. Cedric's score is second only to the Lightstone boy. Your son's future is limitless, my lord. The heavens must shine brightly down upon you.
High Lord Raven, your power knows no bounds. We honor you. Remus casually held up a finger, and the guard roughly pushed back. House Raven's adoring fans as they continued to heap praises in the hope of gaining favor. Remus's lips curled into a smile as he saw his son's name in the standings, but soon he was back to grimacing when he noticed Nathan Hayfield's name at the same rank. He coughed violently for a moment, as if the very name Hayfield were toxic to him in some way. Cedric frowned.
Father, are you all right?
Finally, Remus stopped coughing and scowled at the room.
Nathan Hayfield? How could he have possibly received an examination rank 8?
After a few seconds, Remus's eyes darted around the crowd until they met Nathan's gaze. Nathan stepped forward toward his family's greatest adversary. Remus stared at Nathan without blinking in an attempt to unnerve him. Instead, Nathan's face remained expressionless and calm. His eyes did not blink either. Finally, Remus snarled as he was forced to blink. A slight smile crept up on Nathan's face as he slowly turned away and nodded at Baylor to join him. Nathan knew that Remus was staring daggers into his back, but he no longer cared or paid him any mind. Further down the hall, Lord Byron sighed with relief as he found one of his nephew's names on the list under the 6th rank. He knew that any member of House Clay who succeeded would bring honor to them all. As House Raven swiftly left the hall, Lord Byron frowned. Something had clearly bothered the High Lord Raven, and as Lord Clay went to investigate, he found what had disturbed his master. Lord Clay's fingers clenched into a fist as he gritted his teeth. His stomach went sour as he retreated from the results board.
How dare they award the Hayfield boy an examination rank 8? My own men told me that he left the training grounds early. He must have cheated in some way. That murderer ought to be 6 feet underground, not paraded around a city like a hero. If I could tear his name from the roster right now without repercussions, I would. This madness has got to stop at once. Horse trotting.
Suddenly, the sounds of horse hooves echoed through the cobblestone streets near the hall. Members of the crowd turned and knelt respectfully. It was well known throughout the kingdom of Calandria that riding a horse through a city was rarely allowed. Only a privileged few had the authority to do so. Even most nobles were forced to walk or ride in a mule-drawn carriage. Someone openly riding a horse meant only one thing. A messenger from the Doom faction was on the way to address the crowd. Doom faction members were not bound by the laws of the kingdom of Calandria, after all, considering they ruled over many different kingdoms across the known world. Trotting stops, horse neighs. The Doom faction messenger approached the hall, and the crowd parted to create a path for him. The middle-aged messenger wore an official-looking brooch on his tunic that identified him as a Doom faction envoy. After riding into the center of the crowd, the messenger dismounted and faced the crowd. His voice was both polite and loud as it addressed the city center. "Good citizens of Godric's Land, I am here for the one who is known as Nathan Hayfield." At this moment, the High Lord Raven, who was just about to leave the premises, instead turned and made his way over to the messenger. Lord Raven was the highest-ranking member of the crowd, after all. He smiled at the man and dialed up the charm. "Greetings, noble messenger. Excuse my intrusion, but what is the meaning of this announcement? Why do you wish to see the Hayfield boy?" The messenger didn't even bother looking at the High Lord Raven. After all, Lord Raven was only a noble, and the Doom faction had little concern for the nobles. Instead, the messenger continued to address the crowd. "Nathan Hayfield, are you out there amongst the crowd? The Doom faction demands you make yourself known." Remus Raven stewed, embarrassed by the way the messenger had so casually dismissed him. He would have loved to have had the man's head cut off, but he knew such rash action would lead only to his own downfall. Remus was about to speak again when Nathan leaped past him and smiled at the envoy.
"I am Nathan Hayfield. What business do you have with me?"
"You are Nathan Hayfield?"
"Yes, sir."
Immediately, the messenger handed Nathan a letter with both hands and spoke to him solemnly. "Doom Faction Deputy Officer Kane requests your presence. He wishes to invite you to lunch with him this afternoon."